Lying. We all do it. But why? Is it always wrong, or is it sometimes necessary for survival? Philosophers have debated the nature of lying for centuries. At the heart of every lie lies a fundamental question. What is truth? In the branch of philosophy known as epistemology, the study of knowledge and truth, philosophers have long debated what it means to know something and how we can distinguish between truth and falsehood. But if truth itself is hard to define, then what does it mean to lie? Correspondence theory of truth. Traditionally, many philosophers like Aristotle have supported the correspondence theory of truth, the idea that truth corresponds to reality. Under this theory, a statement is true if it accurately reflects the way things are. For instance, saying, "The sky is blue," is true if, indeed, the sky is blue. Coherence theory of truth. But other philosophers, particularly those in the coherence theory of truth camp, suggest that truth is not about mirroring reality, but about how well a statement fits within a web of beliefs. If a lie fits coherently within a larger narrative, does it lose its status as a lie? From this perspective, lying becomes not just about distorting reality, but about reshaping the connections between facts and beliefs. A lie, in this sense, can still create a truth within a certain context. The philosopher Immanuel Kant, who founded the Deontological school of ethics, offered one of the most famous condemnations of lying. Deontology, derived from the Greek word deon, meaning duty, argues that moral actions are defined by adherence to rules and principles, regardless of the consequences. Kant's famous categorical imperative commands that we must act in such a way that our actions could be universalized. In other words, you should only lie if you believe that everyone should be allowed to lie under similar circumstances. But here's the catch. Kant believed that lying could never be justified, even in extreme cases, because it undermines the very possibility of trust and meaningful communication. Kant uses a famous example to illustrate this. Imagine a murderer comes to your door, asking if your friend, who is hiding inside, is home. Kant argues that you must tell the truth, even if it leads to your friend's harm. Why? Because lying would corrupt the moral law itself, which is greater than any one situation. Now, let's shift from Kant's rigid rules to the flexible approach of utilitarianism. Founded by Jeremy Bentham and later expanded by John Stuart Mill, utilitarianism is part of the consequentialist school of ethics. In this view, the morality of an action depends entirely on its consequences, not the act itself. For utilitarians, an action is morally right if it leads to the greatest amount of happiness for the greatest number of people. If telling a lie can prevent harm or increase overall happiness, then lying becomes not just permissible, but a moral duty. This stands in stark contrast to Kant's insistence that lying is never justified. Imagine a doctor who tells a terminally ill patient that their condition is improving, even though it's not. For a utilitarian, if the lie brings comfort and peace to the patient without causing harm, it's the right thing to do. The truth, in this case, might lead to unnecessary suffering. But here's the problem. By allowing lies based on outcomes, utilitarianism opens the door to moral ambiguity. If we lie for good reasons, where do we draw the line? Who decides what is best for everyone? Existentialist thinkers, such as Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir, approach lying from a deeply personal perspective. In existentialism, the focus is on individual freedom, authenticity, and the burden of choice. But what if the greatest lie is the one we tell ourselves? Sartre introduced the concept of bad faith, which refers to the lies we tell ourselves to avoid the anxiety of freedom. We deceive ourselves into thinking that we have no choice in our actions, that we're victims of circumstance. This self-deception is, in Sartre's view, a form of lying to escape the responsibility of authentic living. In existentialism, lying to others is not as dangerous as lying to oneself. By failing to confront the truth of our existence, by refusing to make choices that reflect our authentic desires, we are living a lie. For Sartre, the challenge is not only in being truthful to others, but in being radically honest with oneself. Enter Friedrich Nietzsche, who turned traditional ideas of truth on their head. In Nietzsche's philosophy, particularly in his concept of the will to power, truth itself is a human invention, a convenient fiction created to make life bearable. For Nietzsche, what we call truth is merely a construct, one that the powerful have used throughout history to control others. He argued that humans create their own realities, imposing their own truths on the world to assert dominance. This challenges the very idea that there is a single objective truth to begin with. Nietzsche wasn't interested in defending lies or truth as moral concepts. Instead, he saw lying as an expression of the human will to power, a creative act that allows us to shape our own reality. If truth is merely an illusion, as Nietzsche suggested, then lying becomes just another tool in the game of life. In Nietzsche's world, the truth is whatever we decide it to be. It's not about right or wrong. It's about who holds the power to define reality. In the 20th century, postmodernist philosophers like Michel Foucault and Jean-François Lyotard questioned the very concept of universal truths. For postmodernism, truth is not a fixed objective reality, but a collection of narratives shaped by culture, language, and power. Foucault argued that truth is constructed by those in power, and that every era creates its own version of what is considered true. Lying, in this sense, becomes a way of resisting dominant narratives. In a world where truth is relative, who gets to decide what is true and what is false? Postmodernism embraces the idea of moral and epistemological relativism, where truth and lies are no longer clear opposites. In this view, every truth can be contested, every lie can be justified. But if there is no objective truth, does that mean anything goes? Lying, regardless of philosophical justification, has real-world consequences. In our personal relationships, trust is easily shattered. In society, the integrity of institutions crumbles when lies are exposed. In an era of fake news, misinformation, and curated realities on social media, we are more than ever forced to question: what is the cost of a lie? When the truth becomes fluid, what happens to our shared reality? Can we live in a world where truth and lies are interchangeable? Or do we still need a moral anchor to navigate through the chaos? So, is the truth overrated? As we've seen, from Kantian deontology to postmodern relativism, the answer depends on which philosophical lens we use. For some, truth is a moral absolute. For others, it is a flexible tool. What's clear is that lies, like truth, are deeply human.